Hey everybody, this is Justin with Sillage Scents. I've got an amazing list of 12 clone fragrances that are perfect for summer, for hot weather. We're going to get right into this, but before we do, please click subscribe if you haven't done that yet. I've got a couple videos coming out a week and I'd love to have you join us. And then finally, let me know down in the comments what clones or cheapies would you add to this list that work well in summer. All right, first up, we're going to go with one that's a brand new pickup. This is a clone of Amouage Reflection Man. So Reflection Man, I didn't try it until years after it came out, but I was always a huge fan of Le Male. I went through many bottles of that, and I definitely get the similarity between the two. This one is 100% a clone of Reflection Man, although you do get the Le Male similarities as well. This one is called SHIYAAKA Black by KHADLAJ, I think is how you say the name of the house, SHIYAAKA Black. This one's been getting some notice over the last few weeks I've seen, and I smelled Reflection Man very recently out at a department store, and I thought, man, I've got to get, I'm not going to buy the Amouage, but I've got to get a clone of this because I've known about it forever and have just never picked up a clone. So there's various clones, but those who have both, those that I respect their content are saying this is the best clone, and I totally get it because this is a banger. What you're going to get with this one is sort of a sweet, aromatic fragrance. That pink pepper is going to give it some sweetness, and you've got a little bit of an herbaceous quality with the rosemary. Then you've got jasmine, neroli, orris root, and ylang-ylang. So you've definitely got a floral vibe coming through, but it's not a feminine floral. Ylang-ylang has what they will sometimes call a narcotic sweetness to it. They call it the narcotic flower. It's very sort of alluring. It'll really grab your attention. The neroli, that sort of a orangey sort of flavor you're going to get from that. And then in the base, you've got sandalwood, vetiver, cedar, and patchouli. And especially the sandalwood and the patchouli mix with the brightness and sweetness and aromatic qualities from the top and the mid, and you're going to get something that is another one of my favorite kind of summer fragrances, which is something that's got significant sweetness with an aromatic quality that works wonderful in the summer. I've got a couple in this list that fit that profile, and this is a fantastic pickup. All right, the next one. This one is a clone of Parfums de Marly Sedley, an awesome warm weather fragrance that is kind of like a blue fragrance, but it does something different that causes it to stand out a little. So this is LATTAFA's MAAHIR Legacy. It's an excellent clone of Sedley and one that's very close to Sedley. But what is so interesting about this fragrance is in the top, you've got a bright citrus. You've got like grapefruit and some orange. You've also got some mint. So you've got sort of a sweet, juicy citrus with some mint, something that we're familiar with in the fragrance game. But then as you work into the heart, you've got some fresh spiciness with some aromatic notes. And then you've got in the base some warm spices. And so in the base, this fragrance actually reminds me of First Instinct Extreme by Abercrombie & Fitch, which is sort of another warm, spicy fragrance that you can wear in the heat that works well. But this one pairs that with a beautiful, juicy citrus mint opening, and I just can't recommend it enough. A great clone of Sedley and just a great fragrance in its own right. All right, next up, I'm going to give you my #1 recommendation for an Aventus clone. When Aventus came out, I went crazy for it like everybody did. I didn't know that there were $300 to $400 fragrances until I went back after going through my samples and tried to buy a bottle and thought, oh, $300 at the time, I'm not going to buy that. So as clones have been coming out, I've tried a ton of them. I've owned a bunch of them. I own about 4 right now, but this one is my #1 recommendation for a clone of Aventus. This is L'Aventure by HARAMAIN. This is easily probably a 10-hour fragrance on my skin. It is a beautiful interpretation of Aventus. It leans a little more fruity Aventus than it does smoky Aventus, but for the $25 that you can get this for, it is an amazing pickup. I hear that the Intense is even better, and it's a 12+ hour fragrance. I don't think I mentioned this in the opening, but every one of these you can get for around $30 or less. So this is like a very budget conscious list, but all of them are really good. All right, so this one's been called a clone of Virgin Island Water by Creed, although it's not a clone. It's similar. There are some similarities, similar vibe, but it's not a clone. I'm talking about Tommy Bahama Set Sail St. Bart. And so this is a tropical fragrance with some lime and some coconut. It's got a tequila note, so it definitely has that very much tropical vibe, but it's also got an aquatic muskiness as well in the dry down. It's a beautiful beach, vacation, pool fragrance, or just running errands on a hot summer day. And you can get it for $20 all over the place at rack stores and discounters online. Highly recommend this one. Just keep in mind it's an eau de cologne, so it's a weak performer. You know, spray it 15 times. You won't offend anyone, and you may want to do that just so that you get more than 4 or 5 hours out of it. All right, this next one is one I've really been enjoying, although some may scoff at this fragrance because it's a Hollister fragrance, but this is Hollister Wave 2. I got this for $12 at Burlington, and I've been wearing it a couple times a week ever since I got it. This one is not a direct clone, but if you took Invictus Aqua and then you take something like Versace Pour Homme, so a little bit of a fresh, aquatic, aromatic fragrance, and mix it with some bubblegum sweetness aquatic, then that's what you get. And it has a very interesting violet leaf, so an ozonic note as well that's very pronounced, that just carries that aquatic sweetness and aromatic qualities. I love this fragrance, and even though it's not, you know, going to blow your mind for originality, it smells amazing. And so it's a cheap pickup. You know, bummer is it's only about, you know, probably a 4 or 5 hour fragrance on my skin, but one I've really been enjoying. All right, next let's go with one that is one of the kind of old school clone cheapies that everybody has talked about. I'm talking about Perry Ellis 360 Red. And so this funny shaped bottle is a clone of the original Acqua di Gio, but it's got a subtle cinnamon note and a little more sweetness than the original Acqua di Gio, which gives me something I actually prefer to the original Acqua di Gio. I like sweeter fragrances. You know, the cinnamon note is not that noticeable, but it is just slightly. I think it's a slightly modernized version of Acqua di Gio, and I highly recommend it. I think I got this for about $13 from Fragrance Buy. This one's gotten a lot of hype for good reason. It deserves it. All right, next up, this is one that has blown my mind, another super cheapie that I've actually been wearing a lot since I picked it up. This is Parfums BELCAM OG Blue. You can see the level. I mean, I've sprayed the heck out of it in just a few weeks. This one is a clone of Acqua di Gio Profondo. And so Profondo is sort of the blue fragrance version of Acqua di Gio, but it also has a mineral note. And that's kind of what caused it to stand apart. This one is an awesome blue fragrance. It's somewhere between like Dylan Blue and something like Rocheus L'Homme, if you could sort of find where the two of them meet in the middle, minus the incense quality from Dylan Blue. So it's a great blue fragrance. You know, for $8, it doesn't smell overly synthetic or cheap. The thing that kills it as a Profondo clone is it doesn't have that mineral note. So not a perfect Profondo clone by any stretch, but definitely the most incredible cheap blue fragrance that I could recommend to you for $8 on Amazon, or even some Walmarts carry it. So I definitely recommend that one. All right, next up, this one's a clone of Ganymede by Marc-Antoine Barrault. Kind of a year-round fragrance, very unique and not for everyone. Ganymede is where the last one I said is lacking the mineral note. This one is like 80% mineral note. And this is Celestial EMIR, or EMIR Celestial by Paris Corner. And this one's a fantastic clone of Ganymede. So you're going to get some mandarin orange and saffron in the opening, which is an interesting combination. Saffron is usually a good, note that complements, but in this one, saffron leads with a supporting mandarin note, and then you've got some leather and some suede that mix with saffron and orange, believe it or not, to make something that's, you know, the most distinct mineral note that I've ever smelled. Think like wet clay or wet rocks with a little sweetness and a little spicy and texture from saffron. Super interesting, not for everybody, but if you like Ganymede, this thing is a killer clone of Ganymede. I just saw Ash on Jensen's put a video about this recently. He's always talking about Ganymede, and he says that this one is a great clone of Ganymede, and I agree. All right, next up, this one has been called a clone of Dior Homme Cologne, and this one is sort of a icy lemonade fragrance. My kids and wife did a lemonade stand over the weekend, and their lemonade smelled about like this. This is Jimmy Choo Man Ice. And what you're going to get with this one is, yes, sweet, juicy lemon with a splash of orange. And then you've got a muskiness and something that reminds me of a little bit of a grassy vetiver. I don't know if that's just the musk or if it actually is vetiver, but you're going to get that beautiful, sweet, juicy citrus and then a musky vetiver dry down. And this thing performs about 7 hours on my skin, surprising for a citrus heavy fragrance. So definitely recommend that one. All right, next up, I'm going to go with another one that's a clone of an Acqua di Gio fragrance, and this is another $8 pickup. This is Parfums BELCAM, but this time OG Black. And it's a clone of Acqua di Gio Profumo, another shockingly good $8 fragrance. I've got a bunch of cheapies, like dirt cheapies, that I won't do videos on because they suck. But this one and the other Parfums BELCAM I showed you actually don't. This one smells, 90+% similar to Profumo. The difference is Profumo is a parfum, so it's eternal. This one is going to last you about 4 hours. But it's so similar to Profumo that I still highly recommend it, and I think that it's a great pickup for the price. It's unimaginable. All right, next up, we're going to go with one that's been called a clone of La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric, because that was sort of a modernized version of La Nuit de l'Homme. I believe they added ambroxan and a little bit of a blue fragrance quality to La Nuit de l'Homme, and that's pretty much what this one is. You've got that a little bit of a citrus sweetness and a cardamom, and then you've got an ambroxan that just mixes together. So you've basically got something that smells like La Nuit de l'Homme with an ambroxan kind of fuzzy, airy quality. So it's a fresher version of that classic cardamom fragrance, and this is LATTAFA's EJAZZI Silver, about a $15 fragrance on a lot of discounters. If you like La Nuit de l'Homme, then this is a great one to try, and it even works in the summertime, which I don't know that the original La Nuit de l'Homme quite does. All right, number 12. So this is the last one. As I said, all of these you can get for around $30 or less. Whenever I got this one, I got it for $31, including shipping, but the price has kind of gone crazy because of the hype around it, but the price will come back down almost guaranteed. This is Fragrance World Imperium, and it's a clone of Roja Parfums Elysium. I've got a bunch of clones of Elysium. I've done a video comparing the different clones. This one's probably still my number one recommendation because in the world of Elysium clones, the way that they treat sweet fruitiness and grassy vetiver is sort of what causes them to stand apart. This one really does handle the fruitiness, the blackcurrant, the lime, that bright, juicy fruitiness, and the grassy vetiver. It handles the levels at very much the same way that Elysium does. So even though I probably prefer the smell of Alexandria's clone a little bit better, which is called Zion, this one is probably closer to the original, and Alexandria is quite a bit more expensive. So this is still a great clone of Elysium, and one that I definitely recommend, and one that you'll be able to get for that $30 again soon if you can't already. So that's been 12 clones that work great in the summer, all of which are very reasonably priced. But let me know down in the list, what would you add and what are the fragrances that are affordable that you're looking forward to as it heats up more and more. And again, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. I've got videos coming out every couple days, and I'd love to have you join us. I'm Justin. This has been Sillage Scents.